Someone just once said, "Oh, your accent's quite thick." I'm like, what? My accent's not thick. I went to a show once and I brought my colleague who's Israeli. At the end of the night, she basically said, yours was the only accent I could understand.
Hello, welcome to Comedy with an Accent podcast. I'm your Taiwanese comedian, Quan Wen. I interview comedians who perform English stand-up comedy but who are not native English speakers, or they can have very distinct British regional accent. This podcast is all about comedy, about accent, about languages, and about the comedy technique. So stay tuned if you're interested. Hello, welcome back to another episode of Comedy with an Accent podcast. Once again, I have, how do I call it? Right, okay. Want to make sure I introduce my guest in the most respectful way. We have another relatively new comic, but he's not just like a rising star. He's a supernova that is destroying the entire galaxy. No, you're taking it by storm. I guess Indians like this kind of credit and complimentary style. So we have someone who's been all over all the major new act competition in 2022. He's the winner of So You Think You're Funny. He was the finalist at New Acts of Year 2022. He was the finalist at BBC New Comedy Award 2022. And adding to that, he's been winning King Gong at Comedy Store, etc. With that in mind, I'm going to introduce my guest today. That's Joshua Bethania from India.
This feels like, when parents introduce you to other parents and they're very proud of their achievements.
Yes.
So imagine if they were proud of comedy, they'd probably say things that you
No, the parents not only say that, the parent was stopped by humble bragging. It's like, my son hasn't achieved much except ta-da-da, ta-da-da, ta-da-da. So I thought we could share this part of our culture, our embarrassing parents' culture.
I don't think in my case it's humble brags, it's straight away brags. So
Okay. My mom would invite people over and say something like, oh, we eat pretty simple and the lazy Susan's covered by 15 dishes and 2 giant fish, things like that. So thank you for coming. In hindsight, you're doing your solo show Bengaluru soon. Yeah. And I thought, should we move this recording? Because I feel it may be a better idea to wait until I can watch your entire solo show. But then I thought, nah, you're getting big so quickly. Like, if I don't do this right now, I may never be able to book you again. So I thought I'd just do it today.
Don't understate your podcast as well. It's very hard to get on this podcast.
It's not true. It is very hard. I'm such a little bitch. Some people I just don't like them. So they ask me, I just say, nah, I'm not going to have you. Joshua, I'm going to open with this question.
Okay.
You have a name that's pretty... Are you an Anglo Indian? Is that the community?
So, no, actually, in India, religion sort of came with obviously a lot of missionaries and colonialism and things like that.
Are we that quick into the buzzword today? We'll picture, by the way, if you're allergic to the reference to colonialism, you may want to switch off for this episode because our guest today has been a brand talking about colonialism.
Which is weird. I don't talk about it much anymore.
More! We need to talk about it more! Okay, sorry.
And so there's like a whole group of people who are considered Anglo Indians. So people...
I learned the term because of Russell Peters, basically.
Oh, yeah.
He explained why he's called Russell.
Yeah.
Not because he tried to integrate into a white society so much, but he explained that he belongs to a specific group called Anglo Indians. Is that right?
So Anglo Indians are mostly people who've got like a big English connection. There are a lot of people
The traders. I'm just joking. Please don't cancel me, people in India. Okay.
So there's a lot of mixing as well. So there's like people who are like technically mixed race and people whose ancestors are like English people. So they've sort of retained that English culture in India.
Yeah.
So they tend to be more Anglo Indians. Whereas me, I'm just Christian. Like everyone belongs to a religion and it doesn't matter if you believe in God or not, right? Because there were a lot of missionaries coming in. There were a lot of people who converted to Christianity. For some of them, it's just been reasons purely out of, I feel like I belong. And I think there's some who wanted to get away from the caste system. And I think maybe my great-great-great-grandfather, one of them, used to be in one of those lower castes, and they would have probably converted and it just sort of passed on from generation to generation.
Okay, so it's because of your religious belief.
Yeah.
How small is the Christian group in India?
About 2.5% of the entire... It's still a big number out of a billion, but...
Yeah, we're talking about a sample size. Yeah, but absolutely. But for example, I didn't even understand the concept of Sikh. And when I first came to the UK, My colleague tricked me into believing our Sikh manager was Muslim, and I believed them. Because in my very simple world, where we're only preoccupied with America and China and Japan, I totally bought it. I've been asking the Sikh man, I'm sorry, but I know you don't eat pork. He's like, what are you talking about?
I get that a lot as well. Every time I go to some, especially different European places, and I'm going to order food, which is kind of a bit nice as well as like you're making the wrong assumptions. You're like, oh, you can eat this. There's absolutely no pork in it. I'm like, cool, but I eat pork.
And I absolutely loved it.
So sometimes even when I don't want pork, I'm like, no, I need pork. So I can challenge your assumption even though I'm sacrificing my taste buds here.
I think it's a valid question. I don't know if you get asked a lot. The funny thing is someone who's from East Asia, especially the Mandarin-speaking zone, where they introduce themselves with an anglicized name, chances are it's not because they're Christian, just because they adopt a different name in English. But in cases of people I know from, we call it subcontinent, it sounds really weird, but I want to cover more than just India.
Yeah.
When someone have an anglicized name, chances are they are born in a Western world. So they are the second generation or third generation immigrant.
Okay.
So they would have an English name.
I think a lot of Christians have very anglicized names, even though there's no Anglican DNA up their family tree. And especially in the South, where there was a lot of Portuguese colonists and English colonizers that sort of came through the coast, like especially Goa, they tend to have very Christian names, very English-sounding names. So
Yeah, it may be a bit patronizing, but people who don't really look into colonialism, they would think that, oh, India, Britain took it, and that's it. But a couple of various European countries got there first, but only occupy small bits. And eventually, UK just kicked them out, right? So Goa was a Portuguese colony for quite a long time.
Yeah, because English, they overpowered the colonialism game.
Yeah.
And at least in India, Portuguese and the French don't get enough credit.
Sorry, are you using the term credit in an ironic way?
It's like, oh, they were colonizers, but nobody gives a shit.
I once heard from a French comedian mocking British for British Empire.
Yeah.
And I thought, do you have any self-awareness? You're not really known for humane colonialism either, what you did in Africa.
There's another place in India called Pondicherry, which is a tourist hub. I went there once, and there's still a lot of French presence, like people who are French, not like people who stayed over. People come from France and they've set up French restaurants. They use like French signage and everything. And sometimes it's kind of shit to go there because they sort of treat you like, oh, this place is meant for like French spaces. Or like, dude, go back to where you came from. You sort of, sometimes it's super weird. Like, I'm in my country and you're being racist to me. What?
Yeah, but that's what they do.
Yeah, it was weird.
They went India to find themselves and they found it. Absolute crazy. Back to my usual structured question. So Joshua, do you believe when you speak English you have an accent?
I didn't actually. Until I started making an accent joke and they laughed a little too hard for that. I have this opening line that always kills and I don't find it funny at all and I don't understand.
Bank support?
Yeah, I'm like, my name is Joshua. You might recognize my accent from your bank's customer support. I don't get it why it's funny, to be honest. I only did that.
I think they're laughing. They were like, we've been waiting for this moment. Thank you for finally pointing out the obvious. But what's intriguing for me is actually not that obvious. I used to work with a lot of remote team from Bengaluru. Trust me, your accent is as light as the little foam on cappuccino. You have a beautiful accent. I see where the British people are coming from, but I don't think your accent is very strong. But I'm interested in knowing your perspective. So you were saying that you didn't think you did until you start joking about it.
Yeah. And some people have pointed out, and when I try to say something, like certain words, and they'd be like, sorry, what was that?
Did that offend you when they do that?
Not really, because I would say the same thing to them. I think it's because the school I grew up in was actually a very anglicized school, very similar to an English school structure. Like I would wear like school uniform, ties, and we'd all speak only in English.
So you were taught what they say proper English in India?
Yeah, like the Queen's English. Like I learned Shakespeare for like a couple of years. Yeah.
Oh my God.
So I would say I went to a slightly privileged school for Indian standards. We'd all just speak English there all the time, which was kind of annoying when I had to switch. When I tried to speak local languages, I would actually struggle so much later on in my life. I was like, oh, I'm not that good with my actual languages.
You mean Kannada?
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm quite awful.
But surely you speak that with your parents?
Yeah, but it could be very inaccurate. Like I made a lot of friends much later on in life who started speaking more in the local languages. And when I speak to them and they would just mock me like, what are you saying? Like,
So is it your grammar or is it your sound, is it pronunciation that make them giggle?
I think just the words, the pronunciation.
So you have an English accent when you speak Canada, even though you grew up in India.
No, the accent is Indian, but the word pronunciations just get messed up because I focus so much on English.
So when people say to you, say that again, maybe just a small split second in that, have you got any idea how much I've been mocked by my home people to be able to hold my English to such a degree, and you have the audacity to still judge my accent?
I've been judged on every language. The schooling definitely like cleaned up my English. The accent just remained. Like when I speak to friends, we mix up all the languages. So one sentence could have like 3 to 4 different languages of different words. And sometimes we ironically use the accent, but we use it a little too much. It becomes unironic. You know what I mean? Like if I speak to another Indian and we just sort of like do this funny Indian accent, put it a little too much. And then over time, it just becomes like, oh yeah, this is how we speak.
You've internalized your joke.
Yeah.
So you've been taken over by your object become the subject.
Yeah, exactly.
Some of my uni friends, they have kids now and they're worrying about the English education of their children. One was like, I really want to send my kids to this school because they have native speaker tutors, but it's so expensive. But I really want to give my children the best start in life. I want them to be judged as little as possible by native English speakers. I just think if your English has a hint of any foreigners, even just down to 1 or 2%, you are never a native English speaker. Some of them will never appreciate how fluent you are.
That's true.
Yeah, for them, there's no tangible difference between you and someone else with a much thicker accent of your own mother tongue.
Yeah.
So you might as well concentrate on just study and show that you speak an educated level of English.
Yeah.
But don't be so obsessed with the perfection in accent because you're never going to achieve that.
Yeah, that's true. I make this joke in my set. Oh, you guys should stop inventing things you're not good at. And I'm like talking about football or cricket and English maybe.
Clearly, your accent are a lot lighter than the typical bank support team based offsite in Bangalore.
Yeah.
But how did you even come up with this joke when in fact your accent is not exactly the same?
I think it's because I once called HSBC helpline and it was pretty obvious. Like I was speaking to an Indian guy, and the thing about call centers is I had a cousin who used to work in one. They are specifically trained to put on an English name and an English accent, or an American accent based on where your customers are.
Couldn't feel that.
No, that's the thing. Because they're not so used to it, so they're literally faking an accent. And it comes across this weird hybrid of Indian accent plus this other accent, who's sort of aggressively trying to put on an accent.
Oh.
And when I heard in my head, I just want to be like, dude, just speak to me regularly, man. You know, I know where you are. You're probably sitting next to my cousin.
You didn't ask them to switch
No,
to Hindi or
I
Kannada.
didn't, because I just wanted to get my thing done as soon as possible. It's so ironic that I'm just speaking to another guy from my country. I'm sure we could have a much better conversation with our local languages. That was funny. Like called the bank a couple of times, and both times it was just an Indian guy.
You can notice the artificial nature of those support center call and dialogue.
Yeah.
So you know British people would have picked it up. So you know that it's observation that's worth pointing out.
Yeah.
You just didn't expect they would react so well.
That's I honestly don't even like it anymore. I tried it very early on when I first started doing stand-up. I just wanted some funny opener. You know, the defaults, like you might recognize you, I might remind you of something. So I just wanted to try that. I tried that once and people just started laughing and I'm like, okay, I'm keeping this.
Did you have, I wouldn't say an ulterior motive, but did you think extra about it? Because you, on the podcast, you mentioned that you got into comedy, not by accident, you took a comedy course because you work in a corporate world.
Yeah.
And you want to be a more effective communicator.
Exactly.
And that's what you got out of the comedy course. So were you sort of encouraged to address your accent in the comedy course?
Not really. I think I never really thought about my accent, to be honest. I just started using that as a joke, like just to describe my identity, because I go into a lot of stuff about being Indian.
Yeah, because you can address the fact that you're Indian without having to point out your accent.
Yeah.
You may dislike the joke, but that joke has always served the purpose for you because that's what native speaker would be thinking about.
Yeah, exactly.
And by affirming their suspicion, you get it out of the way.
Yeah.
And that's the function of that joke.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I don't particularly like to point out my accent. It hurts me every time when someone say I have an accent, but my typical go-to line is, I'm sorry, I have no subtitle for you today. So suck it up, bitch. So that's how I address it.
Yeah.
I don't like that, but I know I have to say that.
It's also like just writing funny stuff. I'm still like quite new, so it's more like, oh, okay, what are the very obvious things that I can just get out of the way? So that was. I have been trying to address when people see a guy called Joshua who looks like me on stage. So I've been trying to address that.
Sorry,
as
my name
late.
is not brown enough for you. That's a great lie. It's a great lie.
I actually did that. Like I went on stage, I said, hey, my name is Joshua. And one guy just started laughing. I'm like, dude, I'm sorry, I'm not a Patel, So then like I ended up getting.
But that's a very interesting phenomenon, though. I was scrolling through my Instagram feed and I found this comedian in a Spanish-speaking country. He was talking to a Chinese immigrant in that country, and he asked the guy what his name was. I think he said his name was like Pablo or something, like a very Spanish name. Everyone was having a laugh. You're not supposed to call yourself like that. And I found it funny as well. I know there's an element of truth, but we don't really apply this principle fairly, do we? So I guess it is a fact. It is funny in the ears of a lot of people, but it is also a gentle level of racism.
Okay.
It's not something I would say people should be deplatformed or cancel, but you probably need to have a good look into yourself. Why do you find it funny?
Yeah,
why a second generation Chinese person growing up in a Spanish country, why is it still so funny for him to be called Pablo, whereas a German immigrant that grows up in Brazil, it's not funny to call himself Juan.
I guess that a gentler level of racism is quite funny. I think that is sometimes probably required in comedy. Without that, it's not going to be funny.
I don't have the answer for that.
Yeah, I'm trying to get away from just talking about Indian stuff at all. But at the same time, audiences love to hear it. It's just like, oh man, I'm not going
But the problem is, unlike on this podcast, you can't really explain your name comes with origin of your Christian belief. And people won't know that. And you don't have time to explain that. So you can do a joke about it, but they're probably going to keep the same level of worldview, right? It's funny a brown guy calls himself Joshua. So I'd assume the shocking realization that I have an accent for you guys didn't happen on stage. It would have happened when you first arrived here for your civilian duty, your job.
Yeah, I think my colleagues are fine because we've been on like phone calls, and so they sort of know what to expect.
Who pointed out blatantly for the first time in your face?
Oh, interesting. I think it's probably like one of those...
immigration officers?
No, the immigration officers are usually browns.
That's true.
Probably like in one of those pubs when you just meet some random stranger who are like, oh, your name really is Josh. I remember like I had to take out my driver's license. I'm like, dude, look at this. I was with a friend who had another Christian name, and like we're both Indians. And he could not wrap his mind that we both had a non-Indian...
Who pointed out that you have an accent where in your world you never knew?
I think some people ask this, oh, why is your English so good? But at the same time, I think maybe some people are like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't get it, like who sort of repeatedly ask. I think maybe someone just once said, oh, your accent's quite thick. I'm like, what? My accent's not thick. I thought it's pretty neutral. I think it's like one of those cases where you just meet someone in
your
the pub.
accent is really, really light for me.
I went to a show once and I brought my colleague who is Israeli. At the end of the night, she basically said, yours was the only accent I could understand. And everyone was like strong English accents.
Like regional English accents.
Yeah, so I realized, okay, for the international audience, my accent is actually slightly better than
That's what
the
I
English
always
accent.
believe in myself. When I get mocked by people with really strong English accent, I'm like, excuse me, on Netflix, I am better understood than the majority of you. From Bangalore, which officially now is Bengaluru. What is your first language? What's your mother tongue?
So it's a language called Kannada,
So you are from the biggest linguistic group in your state.
Yeah.
And what other languages do you speak?
So another language called Tamil, which is a bit common in Sri Lanka as well.
Let's not bring Sri Lanka in. Because Tamil in Sri Lanka is a business.
Yeah.
And if you don't understand the joke, do some research.
The city where I grew up is actually quite diverse in terms of...
That tends to be the case for metropolis in India. My first guest on India was Sahil Shah. and he is based in Mumbai, but his first language was Marathi.
Yeah.
But he also speaks Hindi,
Yeah.
English,
Yeah.
and Gujarati. No, he is actually Gujarat.
Okay.
But because he lives in Mumbai, and so many people speak different language in Mumbai. In your case, you speak Kannada, but your father, is he Tamil?
Yeah, he's Tamilian, but he's never really grown up in Tamil Nadu. But he grew up speaking the language. They still speak like when he meets his sisters and stuff.
And your mom?
Mom's a Kannadiga who speaks Kannada. So
Okay. I suppose you speak Hindi or not so much? You don't really care about it in the south of India. I was like, nah.
I learned it in school. Funnily enough, I can read and write Hindi much better than any of the other languages. But my speaking is absolute rubbish when I go up north and I try to speak in Hindi. It's just so broken. It's quite embarrassing sometimes.
Okay. So what's the more prevalent language in southern India then?
That's a hard question in south of India. Every region tends to be quite different. Bangalore is a lot like London of India. People come from all over the country
I'm
for
sure
jobs.
people from the north might disagree, but let's just agree. Just assume you're right. Okay.
Hindi ends up being a default fallback, but a lot of people just speak their own languages and they switch based on what the other person is speaking. I think people are quite flexible that way. So.
But is there not like a language law saying that you must speak Hindi in public places?
Not at all, actually. In the South, it's actually the other way. Not really a law, but there's a lot of people who are annoyed that where they're forced to speak Hindi, they'd rather speak Kannada or...
Interesting.
Like, don't make me lose my language. A lot of people are like very anti-Hindi. They don't like it being shoved down their throats like, oh, you have to speak Hindi. Oh, this is our national language, which it's not. It's one of the official languages. We have about 20 official languages. So when people say Hindi is the national language of India, to a South Indian, it's very annoying.
Okay, that's very interesting because I'm Taiwanese, but what I know from our neighbor China is that Mandarin, the official language, is from the Beijing area. Most of the North, the dialect are more or less similar to Mandarin, but the Southern Chinese are expect to be fluent in Mandarin. There's no excuse from it. And actually, Northerners will make fun of Southerners' accent. Even on their stand-up comedy show on TV, people who speak Cantonese will typically be mocked.
Oh, yeah. Same. I've seen some videos where Bollywood, it tends to be very North India prevalent, right?
And also very fair.
Yeah. And they try to do like South Indian bit and it can come across very condescending at times. There are some movies which are like completely set with South Indian settings and it's played by people from North India. To a South Indian, sometimes you're just like, you don't give a shit, you just watch it and have fun. But if you actually pay attention, you're like, oh, this is annoying that you're assuming.
Joshua, I'm going to freeze at the moment. I know we're not friends yet. We're friendly colleagues. So I may ask a question that might offend you, but I want to understand the context.
Okay.
I suspect you will consider a bit dark on the colorisms.
I talk about it, so it's totally fine.
Okay. Just because I know how sensitive, how dark your skin is. I have a colleague who still blames her father for turning her darker than she should be because her mom's very fair and she was born here.
Yeah.
She was born here. Is there a sense of Northern India may look down Southern Indian because Southern India can be a bit darker? Or?
Yeah, I think so. I wouldn't say just North India looking. Just there are a lot of fair-skinned South Indians as well. But in general, it sort of felt like racism without the race. I do a joke about this in my set where I'm basically like, oh yeah, I was subject to a lot of racism from people of my own race, if that makes sense. I guess the word is colorism. It's just internalized, like fair skin is better, dark skin is not good. So
I may be jumping ahead too soon, but do you feel the crowd here gets you when you talk about the colorism or intra-community racism?
I mean, I just do like a very small joke. I think they sort of understand it.
But do they understand it?
That's a good
without
question.
You giving enough texture and subtext.
Yeah, I just put it as I'm subject to racism from people of my own race, if that makes sense, basically trying to explain it. But for me, it's irrelevant because the punchline was something completely different. So
I feel, for example, if your audience are Asian or Black, they may get you. But I do not believe Caucasian Europeans or British really understand how much hate or prejudice people have based on your skin tone.
Yeah, I don't expect them to get it as well. But maybe I might elaborate on it in my 1 hour thing. Yeah, I think I tried talking about this to a friend who was white and she was like mind blown. Oh, wow. Okay, so I guess they didn't get how the skin color issue
I think they only get when you joke about how translucent ginger people are. And it's the only different shade that makes sense.
It works the other way. The first time I heard someone make jokes about how pale they are, like, what are you talking about? People die to be
it's
that color.
It's a massive advantage you have. Like, honestly, you're privileged, but you're moaning about it.
Yeah, and I realized they also feel a sense of, I mean, I don't want to compare what experiences they've been to. I think think they've also felt like, oh shit, I'm a little too pale and I've been made fun of growing up. So that was the new perspective I got.
Yeah,
when
to
I
be
came.
fair, there's something we didn't appreciate,
Yeah.
didn't understand. We always grew up believing being fairer is better,
Yeah.
but they have their
Yeah.
struggles.
Yeah.
But not according to Diane Abbott. But anyways, I'm just joking. I'm just joking. This joke probably won't make sense in 6 months or years' time.
Yeah.
Do you know Vidura well?
Yeah.
Vidura and you have one interesting similarity. You both mentioned Trevor Noah as one of your influences. And I think on the international nature of your accent or your comedy, I don't know how big a role Trevor Noah plays, but he definitely has an influence on both of you.
Definitely. I think he touches a lot of topics that's very similar to South Asians as well, especially the colonialism bit. I remember the first few comedians I saw was Russell Peters, Trevor Noah. Just listening to him explain your problems and he gets it. So it was like, oh yeah, this guy is able to explain to another audience of my plight, of how we think. So that was quite...
Okay, so let's address this. So on the colonialism specifically, it is a topic that may be off-putting for some people. So we typically have to treat it with a level of care.
Don't overdo
it. Asian comics will do it. So it's almost considered a cliche when a minority comic here go on say talk about colonialism, which makes it even more important to make people feel either your take is original or is on brand with your specific type of comedy. But on the point why you want to talk, you did mention on another podcast, before you started comedy and you listened to Russell Peter, and he was the very first person who talked about colonialism with a hint of emotion. Because you always learn it as school subject, as facts. You never thought about the emotional aspect of it. And Russell Peter, even though he was joking about it, he brought emotion to it, and they gave you a completely different perspective.
Exactly.
And that's what you knew that you always want to talk about when you perform on stage.
Yeah, this is like well put. Growing up, textbooks would just state facts. There's no emotion behind it. We'd hear, oh yeah, this tragedy happened. But it was fine. There was no emotion associated with it. It would just be
the exam would like, just tell us what year they came.
Yeah. And sometimes it actually portrays them as a good thing that happened to India. They would abolish certain practices in India, and that would be highlighted over everything else. So even though we knew the facts, we never had how we felt about it. Then I think when I started hearing, like there are a lot of politicians who sort of talk about it, who are very passionate about it as well. And I realized, oh shit, this is actually pretty bad what they did, didn't they? And like when you see the body count, it's like, oh.
You know what's the most obvious post-colonial thing about India and the UK?
What?
The much love you gave to cricket. There's still a few countries on this planet care about cricket because you guys are in that post-colonial club big time.
There's still like clubs where they're very gentlemanly with their cricket, which is, I don't know, some things you just loved it and we got better at than them did.
But has that experience been punctured after you came here and you felt, is there a difference how you approach this before and after you came to the UK?
I think we've just accepted it as it is. It's fine, it's done. My only problem with colonialism these days is people aren't acknowledging it because there's nothing really much you can do. Like you can ask for reparation, they're probably not going to give you anything. Like just the lack of acknowledgement is my main problem, where it's like, oh yeah, what we did was good for you. That's why I sort of talk about it, where people are like, they sort of have this anti-immigration stance. It's like, this is silly given your history. Whereas everything that's already done, things that exist, which is fine. Like, there's no point wasting more money trying to fix those.
As you've explained, you're not asking for reparation. You're not trying to educate people. That's a question that's
I'm not even taking like a moral high ground. It's just a nice topic. There's so many stories that I hadn't read in school as well, and I started reading. One of my favorite books that I've read quite recently was 52 Things That the British Did That Made Them Seem Like a Bell End or something. It was brilliant. Like, it's so well written.
Do you know that we have some audience in the US, they don't even understand the term bell end.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, like...
Bell end is the end of the bell, and the shape looks like a gland. Basically, it's not a nice word, but just Google it. Anyway.
Yeah, that's a word I learned when I came here as well. But it's just nice to talk about, and like audiences are quite nice to acknowledge it as well.
So what you're saying is your academic journey gave you a very one-sided way of looking at colonialism. You're basically using comedy to come full circle to address the other side you've never been able to feel or...
It's a very strong thing to say that I'm trying to address it. I'm actually not. I don't want to influence your way of thinking as an audience. I'm just like, I think it's funny. I'm just going to make a joke about it. Like, I try not to be too...
I know it is funny, but it is also something that is very much present in your consciousness.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's why you reach for it. You describe it as a low-hanging fruit.
Exactly,
And which leads to another funny point I'd like to make today, that you've been told by people before, these premises you touched were not original. You are stepping on the trail someone has already covered. And I think you have a very good take on this. And you even explain on your Instagram reel, you're well aware this topic has done by other people before. But for you, you just want to make the audience entertained.
Yeah.
You have your own take on this. And I completely agree. Just because someone say the joke first.
Another comedian, I think he put it the best way. Dude, in comedy, we have like 7 premises.
Your style performing, you are a silent killer.
Oh, thank you. This is how I am, like, because I don't really know how to be expressive, and I realized, like, even when I'm at work meetings, I just keep it toned down. I don't raise my voice. I used to just be an engineer and sit by myself. I didn't have to speak to anyone. I just sit on my computer. Then I moved into a management role and I'm like, oh shit, I need to speak to everyone.
So you're supposed to be a boring middle management in the corporate world. Let me describe what you sound like to me. First, quite a few Asian comedians I know, whether they grew up here or from India, they have a very lively way of performing. The Indian audience, they are so enthusiastic. They applaud after each joke. And you can't help but respond with the same level of craziness, wackiness. But on stage, the way you speak, you have your silence is very overpowering.
Thank you. Because I think like I'm trying to mostly remember what I'm trying to say. I remember the first few times I got on stage, like I would be sweating from my back. I still do sometimes. And my main concern is remembering the lines. So I'm just focused on that. I'm not paying attention.
But your body language doesn't make people register that. Like people would just think, I really want to know what he has to say. I don't think apart from really drunk hecklers, you don't get interrupted a lot when you're on stage, do you? Because you have very long gap and pause. I have 2 things to describe you. One metaphor is the East Asian martial art Tai Chi. The movements are really, really slow, but the flow is smooth. The second, you're like a very humanized robot.
So basically a robot these days.
No. You are like...
No, I mean saying robots are much more human these days.
It could be. Like later season Data in Star Trek.
I haven't seen it.
I haven't seen it. You think in a way that's absolutely logical with a very economic amount of emotions attached. It's not emotionless, but it's really measured and it's not flooded with strong emotions.
Yeah, I don't know, like...
And you speak with such clarity that a lot of human beings are not able to achieve.
Yeah, I think it's just like how my social life has been as well. Like I would sit with a group of friends, I would mostly be sitting and listening before I say something until someone's... And I realized like this place is perfect for me. The UK is perfect for me to just be...
People keep their voice low.
Yeah. So...
And you have a beautiful low, like a deeper voice. But my description of your stage voice, what's your take on that?
But I'm just by myself on stage. I mean, you've said nice things, so I'm not going to say. I don't...
No, because some comedians would not leave any gaps. They would try to fill... For example, I move on very quickly.
Yeah.
A lot of part of my acts are being hectic, being sort of schizophrenic. You're just you're still. I think still is the best way to describe you. But you have to hold your nerve.
Yeah.
You have to absolutely believe in your gag to maintain this.
Exactly. Yeah, I mostly take my time just to remember the line. Like I don't... When I look...
It's a byproduct.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think it's just a byproduct. There are some jokes which I know so well, which I can just power through as a sentence. But most of the time, it's mostly me trying to remember the next word. And I throw in a lot...
That was a great coincidence.
I throw in a lot of fillers as well, like, right? And so I want to get rid of those. And I've started indulging in silences, which sort of works well.
So I'm going to describe the terminology or term people use, either from critics or from Instagram followers.
Critics.
So Joshua has been described as straight-faced, understated, unhurried timing, calm demeanor, drolly, soft-spoken, quietly subversive. approach.
Where did you read that? Quietly
No,
subversive.
but this is so great because in a sea of very noisy social media, there's something so calming and soothing and at the same time very enjoyable watching you and make you easily stand out. And that's why I think
Yeah, all of it was unintentional, but I'm glad it's working in my favor. So
right. There was one particular user on your Instagram. He said that the best part is using a plain accent, unlike so many Indian comedian, celebrities, sports guy, faking their accent outside India. Cheer to you.
Yeah.
I think that's what you describe as the call center people. They try to.
yeah,
create-
but they are made to think like that's instructions.
But
for that.
also,
Yeah.
it's thanks to your education, you can
Yeah.
feel very comfortable
Yeah.
not having to change your accent much.
Yeah, I think I realized like even with my Indian friends, people who don't try to put on an accent, it's more like people who are quite confident with their English. They're
What
just
do
more
you
like
think when you meet Asian comedian, they're born here, they do a very exaggerated Indian
yeah, I've
accent?
seen a mix of some people.
Like he's being very diplomatic. His body language just changed.
I mean, there's some people, I just tell them directly, hey, the way you speak to me and the way you speak to others is very different. I think this is like feedback I gave to some comedians and I just said like, I absolutely enjoy the way you speak to me. And I think you should take that personality on stage because people will like that as well. Because when you're on stage, I don't recognize who you are because you speak differently to me.
Have they taken that on board?
Yeah, I think so. And I realize it's a switch that most immigrants have, the code switch. When you're speaking, I probably do that as well. I don't necessarily think like even speaking to you, I don't think I speak like this to my fellow Indian friends. So I don't know if this is an accent or if this is a tone which is different. People by default just switch based on the person they're speaking to.
I don't know when I will air this episode, but just in case it goes out before Edinburgh, I know you're doing a show
Yeah.
during the Edinburgh Fringe Festival.
So
You're doing a solo show in
Yeah.
Top Secret.
Yeah.
I don't think we'll make
It's-
it before. We'll try. Mention it.
But that show is not going to Edinburgh. It's literally my first ever work in progress. So I hope I have an hour by then. But Edinburgh, I'm just doing like 20-minute spots, best of So You Think You're Funny with a couple of other people. So
A Guilty Balloon.
yeah.
Yes.
Three-way split.
Your solo show is called Bengaluru. Great
Yeah.
name. Top Secret on
July 17th.
July 17th.
Yeah.
Okay. We may be able to air this episode before that. Otherwise, how do people find you on social media?
It's Joshua Bethania _comedy. I think it's the same name in TikTok as well and on YouTube.
You're enjoying the perk of living outside India by having a TikTok account, aren't you?
When I go home,
Tak-a-tak. That's what I
it
learned
works.
from-
Funnily, it works for a couple of days. And then it doesn't. But actually, to be honest, I'm so glad TikTok doesn't work in India. I think that the
It's
whole
really bad
culture.
for the brain and the attention span.
Yeah, and I think it's.
But you do have tak-a-tak. That's what Sahil told me.
Oh,
The Indian TikTok.
oh, I think I did hear of it.
You don't even know the Indian.
Yeah, it ever took off. It's probably Instagram is the main place to be in India. Like TikTok, I don't know if you see the content, it's like, I'm so glad this content is not in India. This is going to be super controversial.
Right, okay. And you don't have a website yet, do you?
I have a link tree. It's in my bio. I don't know. Like, I don't.
This is someone who have quite a well-paying corporate career, so comedy.
The thing is, I don't know what to put on my website. Everything that I need is on the link tree.
Yeah.
I don't know what I would put in my website that's not already there.
Yeah, maybe I'm old-fashioned. I don't know. I just think as such a star, you deserve to have a website.
Like, if I have a website, more like how many people are actually going to visit it. Whereas Linktree, I actually keep metrics.
All that it takes is a production company producer
Okay.
to visit your website.
I could.
He looked concerned. All right.
I can build it on my own, I'm sure, but I honestly can't be asked. I don't think it would be useful at all.
That's such a boring ending.
I'm advertising. Don't make websites. We have enough of them. It's like this podcast sponsored by Linktree.
And I do have to apologize. Normally, we have very strong roller coaster emotion throughout, but because our guest is very still, so it's a rather still episode.
Well, I've been through a
I hope you're
range of
enjoying the
emotions.
still episode and treat it as your, I don't know, soothing wave sound before you go to sleep.
Yeah, before you go fall asleep.
Just keep listening to the episode. Listen to Josh's beautiful voice before you go to sleep.
ASMR noises. Just to ease your
Sorry,
anxiety.
my laughter destroyed that vibe. All right, thank you for coming on the podcast today. Thank you very much. Come back next time. Bye. Okay, I was hoping he would say something, but he didn't. Okay, bye.
Oh, I thought it stopped recording when you stood still.